Hello, and welcome back to another Dokkan battle video. I know I'm late. I did see this initially when it dropped roughly about like 12 hours ago, but it is Mother's Day. I was hanging out with my mom. Just chill out, everybody. I'll get to all of the stuff, all the easy A's, this LR Ultimate Gohan. We're going to go ahead and gonna go over and talk over everything. All right. So for starters, Gohan here is going to be the Part 2 LR. He does seem quite good. I have already read his details. So his leader skill, Majin Buu Saga or Savior category, key plus 4 HP attacking defense 150. This is the second ever Savior leader skill, and it is worse than the one who came out initially. So, you know, it is what it is. So his passive skill here activates the animation once only. He gets permanent key plus 6, and all allies get a defense plus 58% for the first 2 turns from the character's entry turn when there are another 2 or more Majin Buu Saga category allies upon the team, or on the team upon the character's entry turn. So essentially what that means is, right, if you run him on the Super Saiyan 3 Goku team, you immediately will get that. You'll have that up regardless, and you'll be just a little bit stronger for those first 2 turns, which is one of those big time periods where you can potentially get caught out on some of your weaker units when they need their time to build up and stuff like that. So I do think it is a good buff, especially because the fact that this guy does link really, really well with Tech Ultimate Gohan, being able to give him just that little extra start of turn stats for those first few turns where he might be his weakest is really, really powerful. So he also gets key plus 3 in attack and defense 180% at the start of turn and guards all attacks without any condition, which is amazing. He randomly changes key spheres of a certain type to AGL, AGL excluded. So essentially, he is just randomly AGL orb changing. It's just like a little add-on. He can only do that, though, when there is a full Majin Buu Saga rotation, which isn't too common. I mean, obviously, if you run him on a full Buu Saga team, you'll be able to get that. But like, it's kind of a weird restriction. Plus, for it's an effect that isn't really that necessary. So it is... It's fine. Like it'll do the trick, but you're not gonna really have to stress over that AGL orb changing there. He gets an additional attack and defense 58% when key is 12 or more, and then he gets another additional 58% attack and defense, and launches an additional attack that has a great chance of becoming a super attack when key is 18 or more. So if you do hit that 18 key super attack, he's gonna just be a lot stronger post super attack, while also having that chance to do an additional 70% super. He gives 20% defense for Majin Buu Saga category allies and gets an additional attack plus 50% when activating the active skill or when he is at 24 key. It's a little bit of a buff. It's nothing crazy, but it is a little nice little additive there. Again, everything is basically, this guy is giving Tech Ultimate Gohan the ability to just be infinite, which is amazing. I do like that. I think it's a good design. He could definitely be a little bit better, but it is what it is. And then finally here, he launches 2 additional attacks, each of which has a medium chance of becoming a super attack when facing only one enemy whose HP is 58% or more at the start of turn. So that's pretty much, if you get this guy on your off rotation, it's going to be a little bit whack because you're not going to be able to activate that pretty much ever. But if he's like on the first rotation, whenever you enter into a new phase, he's going to be able to launch off like 5 super attacks, each of which is going to be doing roughly around like 10 million damage. So he's going to be pretty powerful. And then if we do take a look at his super attack effects here, he has a bunch of them. His regular 12 key gives him 30% attack for 3 turns and defense for 1 turn. He does have a unit super attack. His regular 18 key super attack stacks attack and then greatly raises defense for 1 turn. But his unit super attack, which can be activated whenever you have a Goten, Trunks, or Gotenks in the same turn as him, is that he gives himself a greatly attack stack, which is again a 50% attack stack. So he's going to be able to do crazy amounts of damage as the fight keeps going longer and longer and longer. And then he gives himself 30% defense while also raising all allies' defense by 58% for the turn. So genuinely, he is going to be making whatever your unit is in slot 3 crazy and Tech Ultimate Gohan insane. Because he's going to be giving a lot of defensive support to the rotation as long as you have a Majin Buu Saga Center team, or if you have a Goten, Trunks, or Gotenks on the rotation. Now, Gotenks is really good right now, and we do know that there are 2 easy Goten and Trunkses right here. So, you know, you're going to be able to proc this. There's good versions of these characters in the game, so it's not like a mechanic that you'll never see. It's just not something that I think you have to like force out, because you're going to be linking this guy up with Tech Ultimate Gohan, and you're not always going to have a Gotenks or something floating around. You're going to have, if you're going to be running them together, there's going to be a Super Saiyan 3 Goku on one of those rotations, and you're not going to have them obviously you're not going to have the unit super there. But I think this guy is genuinely really, really powerful. He does also have an active skill. His active skill can be activated when facing only one enemy whose HP is 58% or less, or when there is another Majin Buu Saga category ally attacking in the same turn, starting from the 6th turn from character's entry turn, which is kind of a bit of a restriction there. It's a very deep into the fight kind of thing. However, when you do pop it, remember that you do get that additional attack down here by using your active skill. So it is going to be a little juiced up from that, plus all of your attack stacks from your super attack effects. It basically allows him to get 24 key super attack guaranteed and an additional 58% defense for the turn. So essentially what that means is with his guard, plus he's going to have his post super attack plus 24 key thing, right? All his buffs up there. The reason that he gives him 24 key like right away, right, is my guess is so that it procs the attack and defense that he gets on super attack if you have that much key, right? So that is my assumption as to why it just gives you 24 key immediately. Obviously, it's also going to be able to feed into getting those regardless and getting that additional defense for the rotation. But on that turn, he is going to have so much start of turn defense. You're going to be able to slap him in slot 1, give you their entire rotation, potentially another 58% defense, while doing multiple like 13 million attack stacks because he's just stacking up the entire fight. He is going to hit so goddamn hard on that active skill turn. It's going to be really crazy. He's on a stupid amount of teams. Granted, he is kind of restricted to Majin Buu Saga with that active skill as well as the intro buff, which is really nice to have. But his links are mainly centered around Ultimate Gohan. So if you want to run this guy, you're going to want to run him next to Tech Ultimate Gohan. I do think that he is really, really good. I don't know how much better he is than Ginyu, because Ginyu is kind of the unit to compare this guy to. Ginyu is a crazy support, but he's incredibly restricted. This guy is a little bit more flexible than Ginyu. So we're just going to have to probably wait and see until this guy's in game, until we actually get to like test him out and use him. I do really like Ginyu, and I think I'm going to really like this unit if I get them. But that's just kind of my initial thoughts on him. I think he's good. Not like top 5 in the game worthy, but I think he is really good. So we do have 5 EZAs as well that dropped last night. Easy SDR Fat Boo here. He gets 50% attack, 30% defense, causes supreme damage to all enemies, and does a medium chance to stun, which is not bad. He changes int key spheres to SDR key spheres, and attacking demons 150% at the start of turn, which is, solid. I do wish he was a double SDR orb changer for something that we'll get a little bit later on. He gets 50% attack and defense per SDR key sphere, which is a lot of attack and defense. He's going to be able to nuke really, really hard. He launches an additional super attack when collecting 5 or more key spheres, which is really, really nice, especially for something like Battlefield or a Super Battle Road or even World Tournament. If you want to use this guy for there, he'll be able to wipe the field pretty easily. When there's another Majin Buu Saga category ally attacking in the same turn, he reduces damage received by 30% when collecting 3 or more key spheres, specifically STR ones, and then reduces damage received by an additional 3% per STR key sphere obtained, and the count starts from the 4th key sphere onward. So there are, I believe, 21 or 20-something key spheres on the field at a time. So minus 3 from that, because that's what activates the 30%. And you have like 3 times like 19. So maximum, he's getting a little over 70% damage reduction. Actually, it's 89% damage reduction, I believe, is what he gets up to. Or 87%. Which, that is if you get a full field of SDR key spheres. Funny enough, if he was able to be used with like Bulma, and you could change the entire field into a certain type of key sphere, that would be kind of nice, right? Because specifically Bulma, I believe, makes a full field of STR key spheres. So if you were able to use this guy on a team with Bulma, that would be an incredibly strong rotation. It's funny enough. So, I mean, he's solid. He's nothing crazy or anything, but I think he's okay. If he was a double STR orb changer, that damage reduction would be a lot more beneficial. But, it is what it is. Into Hercule, who was the GOAT of the original Cell Max event here, because he was just bogged in there for some reason. He gets 50% attack defense for 1 turn, causes supreme damage to all enemies with a high chance to stun. He has a 50% chance of having his super attack turn into the Tien form, which, again, we don't really know what exactly the boost is, but we will find out when the data download happens tonight. He gets an attack and defense plus 150% when performing a super attack. He has a high chance to evade enemies' attacks, including super attack. And then if your HP is above 50%, you get an additional 10% chance to dodge. So you have about a 60% chance to dodge without any hit of potential system dodge, which is pretty good. It could obviously be a little bit more, and then I think you'd give this guy full dodge, and his hidden potential system, you have close to about like a 70% chance to dodge. He gets 50 to 90% damage reduction. The less HP remaining, the higher the damage reduction rate that you have. That's kind of what this means here. So if you're really, really low on HP, he is not dying to anything, which is a decent thing because that's when you kind of need to be able to be tanky. Obviously, a lot of bosses nowadays just one shot, but if you survive that hit and you haven't healed up yet, this guy being able to just kind of eat everything in the game is really nice. He has a 50% attacking defense at the start of turn, and he gives all enemies attacking defense minus 10% per Majin Buu Saga category ally attacking in the same turn. Now, I don't know if that 50% attacking defense is also per Majin Buu Saga category ally in the same turn. If it is, then that's fine. Like, it's an additional 50% attacking defense. If not, it's fine. Now, the Int Kid Goten and the Int or the Tech Kid Trunks here, right? They are exactly the same character. So I'm just going to read one of them and switch to the other one because they are literally the same unit. They both get greatly raised attack and defense by so they get 50% attacking defense on their super attack for one turn, and then they raise all allies attack by 40% for the turn, which is a solid buff. You get 180% attacking defense at the start of turn, 50% damage reduction, which is pretty high. They get 120% attack and an additional 30% damage reduction when performing a super attack. If there's an ally whose name is Trunks or Krillin attacking in the same turn, again, Trunks is the same thing, except with Goten instead of Trunks. So just keep that in mind. They want to be next to each other is basically the gimmick there. Then they both have this like weird passive here. It's to like give basically a combined support buff to the team, which is cool, but I don't really know how well it's going to work. So depending on who's first or second, these should both pop. You get all allies in the Kamehameha category get ki +1 and attack +50% and chance to perform a critical hit +20% as the first attacker in the turn. Again, they both have that. And then for whoever's in the second slot, they give all Kamehameha category allies ki +2 and attack +70% and chance of performing a critical hit +30% as the second attacker in the turn. So they should combined give 50% crit and a bunch of attack and 3 ki to Kamehameha category allies. So they're just giving each other a ridiculous amount of support. Then they get ki +3 and attack +120% when performing a super attack and a high chance to perform a critical hit as the third attacker in a turn, which is practically the same buff. So if you don't have them together, you just float them off and they'll have the same buff as those first two effects, which is interesting. Again, they are literally exactly the same character, except the restriction is for the other character. Exactly the same otherwise. Then we also have this Fizz Bootanks here, who's also EZAing. He gets 50% attacking defense for one turn on super attack, causes supreme damage and seals, which is a fine super attack effect. He lowers super class enemies' attack by 30% and defense by 80%. He gets ki +1, attack +100% at the start of turn. He gets attack and defense +150% when performing a super attack. He gets ki +2 and attack and defense 100% and reduces damage to by 30% when all allies attacking in the same turn are Majin Buu Saga category allies. Which, I mean, if you are running this guy, you're probably going to run him on the new Fat Boost team. So you're going to be running that full Buu Saga team anyway. But yeah, for some reason, Minato put in Hercule as an AoE. I just saw that. Yeah, he's just being goof. And then Bootanks also performs a crit if the enemy is attacked on or defense down, which he will prop immediately if they have that ability to have that happen. I don't think this Bootanks is that crazy. Maybe he can do some like okay numbers against specifically an enemy who can be defense and attack debuffed. I think that's kind of like what they were going for here, because like there's no way you give someone this big of a debuff to the enemy and they're not useful specifically in that circumstance. Like I think this guy is going to be quite good for that. The Int Blue Kaioken fight. This guy is probably going to be one of your best options if you're running the Fat Boo team. 100%, I think this guy's going to be really good for that. I don't really see him getting much use outside of that. Potentially like Super Battle Road. Super Battle, you can definitely use him in Battlefield, physical Battlefield, because he's going to be another character that can pop like a Majin Buu Saga ally for the extreme physical Battlefield, because you'll be able to run LR Buhan, who is I guess the same name as this guy. Then you have the physical support Super Buu, and then you have the him. So like, I mean, you have other options here. It's just he's nothing crazy, but I think he's okay. Like he'll definitely work. He's just not that good. That's pretty much all of the new characters here. all of them seem pretty solid. The only one who's like kind of weak is like Bootanks, but he's gonna have his uses. Again, I do think that he'll be good in specifically that Blue Falcon fight. Also, did Minato get it wrong? Because here it says 60% defense down, and this says 80%. Yeah, he got it wrong. So, I mean, he's solid, but he's nothing that crazy. So again, do let me know how you guys feel about all these new like characters coming to the game. They should be like in the data download tonight, so we're gonna be able to see what they're doing very, very quickly. People have run calcs about it, but I've seen like 18 different calcs for Ultimate Gohan. So until he actually drops in the game, I'm not really gonna worry about his calculations or anything like that. He is going to be an effective character. But again, do let me know how you guys feel about all these characters in the comments down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys all in the next one.